But of course, as we do it every single week, we can't do the show alone. I mean, we shouldn't do the show alone. Because along with me is a gentleman. Back in the 80s, he used to moonwalk through a crowd of breakdancers without missing a beat. The trick was that he did it naked. His phone has a special digit speed dial to Robert Smith from The Cure. But here at Back to the 80s Radio, we gently, with love, call him the Chang.
Hello, boys and girls. Thank you from the bottom of my black soul for joining us at Back to the 80s Radio and making it what it is.
Hey, Chang, why are you wearing tonight those neon-colored socks? Can you tell me, please?
I had to wear these shoes because the floor of the dojo, I installed Christmas lighting. The neon socks match the Nike running shoes, which I don't run, not even from Sasquatch.
Today we're going to be talking not only about the music, but we're going to be talking about the specific genres that paved the way for what we have today. From the rhythms of pop and the rebellious spirit of rock and metal to the electronic beats of new wave and the soulful expressions of R&B. The 80s, my friends, had it all. Whether you're a fan of pop, rock, or anything else, there's something for everyone. So we want you to sit back and relax, because today there's an experience to traverse. There is the entire 80s full of different genres that we're going to be able to talk about here on Back to the 80s Radio. In the meantime, we're going to be having some great music tonight. Stay tuned, because we got Duran Duran, The Police coming up, and a lot of other wonderful music. Back to the 80s.
For the very first time, back to the 80s.
Back to the 80s Radio. That was Murder by Numbers by The Police. Before that, we heard Duran Duran with Planet Earth. Today we are talking about the diversity of the genres of music from the 1980s. Some of the characteristics, we're going to be talking about the origins and a lot more. Chang, first on our list, because we just played it, is, of course, New Wave. And New Wave was one of my super favorite genres of the 80s. It emerged as a distinctive genre in the late 70s, and it reached its peak of popularity in the early to mid 80s. And, you know, what characterized New Wave? Well, the synths, electronic instruments, and the focus was on melody and style, and bands often blended a little bit of punk rock and other influences from disco and pop music. People like Duran Duran that we just heard, they had the stylish videos, they had the looks, the glamorous side of the new wave genre, and they bridged that gap between pop music and electronic, experimentation, as well as the Police that we heard as well, because they combined reggae rhythm with punk, new wave, and rock.
Oh, I totally agree, but also let us not forget the likes of David Bowie, Roxy Music. Let's not forget about bands such as, of course, The Cure. They were popping back then.
Did you ever dabble in a little bit of new wave?
No, but I did not knock it, nor did I knock the styles that it did bring upon in fashion, which, seeing that we're talking about the diversity and the difference in genres, let us not forget that fashion, I think, is forefront, very noticeable characteristic in all genres of 80s music. Metal had its own style. Classic rock still kind of, but fading away. You had punk with its own style, which is kind of a birth into metal to somewhat. You have...
Now, are you talking about fashion?
I'm talking about fashion. I'm talking about, seeing that we're talking about the diversity and the genres of music.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Every genre of music during the 80s brought about its own kind, its own essence, its own ownership, identity.
Right? Yeah. By the way, just as a side note, I liked, and I actually, no, more than liked, I loved new wave, but I hated their fashion. You wouldn't catch me, I listened to new wave, but I would have never dressed new wave, either, all black emo, or with the parachute pants, or with the Eurythmics or Culture Club, or any kind of the Duran Duran haircuts.
You know
Never.
what? Yeah, that's where I am at. And when I was a young adolescent, I got to tell you, hell yeah, man. It was different than me. My culture was different. So it was kind of looked down upon. You know what I mean? They were, some of the people like me fucked with them, some of them didn't. You know what I mean? To a certain point, I was a dick just like everybody else.
Now, why is that? Let's delve into that. Now, why would you pick on the poor people, the poor cats that listen to New
Well,
Wave?
here's the
Because they
reasoning,
dress
because
different?
the style of music and genre that I was in and my background, my culture kind of transformed me to be a certain way, which is very macho, very physical. Hold your.
So you thought you were tougher,
I thought I was tough, yeah.
basically.
Charles Bronson with long hair,
Okay.
and the music I listened to represented that. I didn't see anybody get into the pit that dressed like that. So it was always different. It was more aggressive where my head was at, as opposed to any other type of genre of music. But I did appreciate all those individuals for being who they wanted to be, just like I wanted to be who they wanted to be. I would never ever put them down, but if somebody was fucking with them, I would stick up for them, because everybody had the right to be who they wanted. Every genre of music transformed into creating identities, groups, families, bonds. So you cannot go against that grain. You have to do only what you can. Respect that. Just like everybody else is
So,
diverse, so was 80s music.
so what you're trying to say is that if you went to a bar with the entire Culture Club band, you don't think they can stand up for themselves, huh? That's what you're trying to say.
No, I didn't say that at all. You took that out of
You
No,
said that
no,
at all. You
no.
said that.
I did not question their
You
masculinity, their
no, you
self-defense, their
insinuated. No,
physical.
not
No,
that. You insinuated their toughness.
no,
You said that they're basically
no,
those
no,
people
no,
weren't
no. I
tough.
didn't say that. I'm saying the group I was from was macho oriented, male chauvinist, pig oriented, used to physical altercations and physical stupidity, to where other forms of music and the genre they created and the bonds and the units they created were different. Everybody clammed together out of different emotions.
Who were some of your favorite new wave bands?
Oh, geez. I would have to say I did like Duran Duran, because I liked that when they got away from the regular MTV tunes, they could hold their own. You know what I mean? They were all instrumentally badass. I mean, when you're sexy and you can move around, it has a way to work into the way your vocals sound and are carried out. So I thought Duran Duran was a classic band. The only problem I had in the 80s was MTV, because I think they made it more important how you looked and how catchy you were, other than the real talent that you had, other than the way you looked. And that's the only problem now. I think if they wouldn't have made things so pretty and just like took pictures and raw shots of people at bands at gigs, growing up, walking around on the streets, doing a garage practice, the essence of music. If they would have kept to that, kept the pretty poise and, smile for the camera, nothing's really plugged in.
You don't think they did that at all?
MTV did that all the time. I mean,
Do you think they exaggerated the band's looks, correct?
yes, I think they
Yeah.
gave prestige and fame to the bands, to the way they looked. And once they capitalized on that, they kind of had their way to conform bands to kind of curve into this mode. Well, we'll do a song like this, but look like that. That's what I think. I remember the day I saw Judas Priest look glam. I was like, this, what's going on? Everybody cared about the way they look. And sadly, it kind of transcended into the way of the world now.
Yeah, I guess. But once again, you're only looking at it in one-sided.
I'm giving it to you like we're
Because
playing
MTV
tennis.
Well, okay, right. But you have to remember that in spite,
In spite.
yes, and I'm going to agree with you. In spite of MTV screwing it up in the later years for everybody, okay? If it wasn't for MTV in the beginning, we would not love many of the artists or have gotten to hear a lot of the artists that we would have heard otherwise, because a lot of radio stations were not playing some of the new wave bands. In this case, we're talking about new wave specifically right now. But if it wasn't for them, look, when were you going to hear the very first song that ever played on MTV to open MTV was a new wave band? It was the Buggles. And it was, interestingly enough, it was a song, Video Killed the Radio Star.
Yes.
I mean, they were prophesying already what was going to happen. And like I said, I agree with you. I just think that the impact of new wave, even on MTV, was so profound because it introduced, I mean, it was a fresh sonic palette to all the mainstream audiences. And yeah, it did pave the way for music's acceptance in pop culture. I mean, it's still heard today in contemporary synth pop.
Right.
So, new wave, a great genre, and we're going to be talking a lot more of new wave in the near future. But in the moment, I do want to take this time to let you know that we here at Back to the 80s are going to be going through some changes in the very near future, and some of those are great changes. Well, they're all great changes. Part of that is because we are growing, and our station on Live 365 Back to the 80s Radio, or K-Hits 92.5, is going to be joined as one. So it's going to be called Back to the 80s Radio, and we want you to tune in to Live 365, download the app, tune into Back to the 80s Radio, so you can take us wherever you go. Because not only are you going to hear some great 80s music, you're also going to hear Toscano and Chang there from Back to the 80s. Chang, as a matter of fact, and I'm only doing this because I want people to know that you're going to have a special show on there. I want you to talk a little bit about what you're going to be playing on the Back to the 80s Radio.
All right, ladies and gents, cats and kitties, I am going to revive Bang with a Chang, which is going to be a rock and roll style of show reminiscent of freeform rock and roll FM radio back in the 80s, somewhat the 70s, but to when a time that the set list I will play for you has meaning, emotion, and I look forward to having contact with you that listen to give me your input. Give me some tunes. Give me some suggestions. What I'll do is I will be posting a topic. Hit me there. Give me some comments. Put some songs that go with the topic. It's going to be pretty much a topic show, but it's going to have a lot of my stupidity. I'll have some top 10 lists. I'll give you some facts of the bands. We'll go metal. We'll go rogue. I'll play everything from classic to metal to blues, all the way into a bit of alternative. I'll hit you cats with some punk. Nobody plays punk, but Chang's gonna bang you with some punk. And I may even have a session to where you're gonna get groovy. We're gonna pump out. That's right, baby. We're gonna get some dance music. You're gonna be hitting the Gap Band. I'm gonna hit you cats with all kinds of music to give you an eargasm. So prepare yourselves. Put some slippers on or kick off the shoes and get ready to rock and roll and make some goddamn noise. What do you think of that, Toscano?
Can't wait. Love it. Don't forget to download the Live 365 app on your phones or wherever you can and type in Back to the 80s Radio, and we're going to be there popping up with a playlist of over 10,000 songs.
We're going to take you out with some Buggles, and right now you're going to be turning Japanese. You are listening to Back to the 80s Radio with Toscano and Chang. We are talking about diversity, the only key to musical prosperity. Because remember, I'm turning Japanese. Yes, I'm turning Japanese. I really think so. Yeah.
Awesome.
And now, back to the 80s with Toscano and Chang.
Welcome back to the 80s Radio. Oh, we got you dancing, but we ain't stopping there. Now we're going to go street. We'll be talking about hip-hop and the early days of rap. We're going to talk about hip-hop. Do not forget about Run DMC. Come on! Sugar Hill Gang. Came from the 70s.
West Coast, East Coast, the battle will remain a battle forever. Some say that the origins of hip-hop were born out of the Bronx in New York City during the late 70s, and it encompassed rap music, DJing, graffiti art, breakdancing. So the reason they came out with this music was a response to social and economic challenges that faced the African American and Latino youth.
It represented that not much difference in the feeling, the emotion, and why you perform is different between rock and roll and hip hop. But I also think it scared the out of relaxed conservative America. I don't think that the essence of two different types of cultures coming together in the bond of music was accepted, because it was both types of music that stood up against the system. So the system thought it was taboo that they're uniting, they'll take force against us, which later brought on to when they tried to go ahead and rate albums and take that away. The freedoms were already at bay and questioned.
These were voices that were marginalized to express social commentary, cultural pride, and, they expressed artistic innovation. There were some conservatives that would try to understand, but could not fully understand the reason why some of the way they expressed it, because they weren't used to it in the past. Now, both parties, I think, were at extremes at some point, because in the later 80s, we went into what was gang rap, and that took it to another level. And yeah, it expressed reality, certainly did. But it was an extreme with the way they spoke, with the way they detailed some of the experiences. So that was an extreme as well. And so there was these clashes between both of these groups of people. And I totally get it. I understand both sides, but I am not justifying anyone. I can tell you though that when it first started, I loved rap. I loved Run DMC. What about Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five? These guys were pioneers of the turntable. I mean, their lyrics, they brought DJing techniques to the forefront of hip hop. These guys were pioneers of the art form. It was an art.
Oh yeah, I agree. That takes us in, going back to what you had stated, to where it kind of brought about kind of the criminal element, street element, which I agree that's where it evolved from, but let's not take out of context. The struggle was real, and if anybody has grown up in an area where the color of your skin, your name, where you live, how you dress comes into play on how you're going to be treated. Hip hop evolved from a cry out, a generation, a social class, a community that was getting treated like it, but yet nothing was getting done. It was getting kind of put under the carpet, a lot like the way that Native Americans were put under the carpet for what they went through. So you have to realize that.
I get what you're saying. What I'm saying is that both parties, because everything was new, hip hop at that point was brand new. And the older generations, they weren't used to this in your face, but not only in your face, it was it got to be above and beyond in your face. And it got to be even at some points, and not at first, of course, right? We're talking well into the later 80s and then the 90s, of course. But not only did it get in your face, but it went beyond that, and it became even violent. And so whether that was a product of what society offered and gave to a certain group of people, I get it. I totally do. But were they on both sides, were they right? I think that there had to have been, unfortunately there wasn't, but there should have been a middle ground where they should have had totally, the conservative side, they should have had some understanding. And on the other side, they should have said, you know what? Okay, let's try to make music that expresses the same thing and try to get it in a way where, not that it doesn't offend people, because people will be offended anyway, but try to make it in a way where we can still express and we could still have that right, that freedom of expression without being censored. So there should have been some type of middle ground, and unfortunately, we know how that turned out. But like I said, I agree with you. I could see that. I want to take you out with Grandmaster Flash with a song called "The Message." A little bit after that, we're going to hear LL Cool J as he talks about the radio. Back to the 80s.
Well, other stations are playing this. We're playing this.
Back to the 80s radio. That was LL Cool J. Can't live without my radio. Before that, you heard The Message from Grandmaster Flash. Talking about the diversity of genres here in the 1980s. And because we have Chang with us today, it is now time for his expertise. Because right now we are going to be talking about the genre of heavy metal, which evolved, yes, from the 1970s roots. Of course, the powerful guitar riffs, the aggressive vocals, these big elaborate stage shows. And then there was some subgenres like thrash and glam that gained prominence, but each one brought their own unique spin to the genre. So, Chang, some of your key artists are what? Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Metallica. Who else? What do you got?
Well, you know what, bro? Seeing I am older than the sand your kids play with by the beach where you reside near, I have to tell you, metal was born with Cream, Jimi Hendrix. Are you digging me? Are you digging me?
Oh, yeah, Eric Clapton, yes.
Then we have to vibe into Sabbath, Judas Priest, before the leather and the bikes. We could even say a little bit of Aerosmith had some metal, the brashness, the look. Metal was born kind of with the revolt of punk rock, kind of mixed in with old school classic hard rock of the 70s. I mean, I'm talking Bad Company, Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Rainbow, of course. Like I mentioned, you go back to the 60s with Cream. You go back with Hendrix. You can go back with the band Mountain. I mean, Clapton started a metal sound. So metal came into the 80s already with a bit of attitude, fury, and identity. But the 80s gave metal an opportunity to take its own identity, a certain look, more leather, more bikes, more attitude.
So let me ask you this. I'll have to be the advocate here. So what was it about metal that attracted you personally, that you, on a personal level, you, nobody else, you? Let's talk about the Chang. What was it about metal? What point did you decide, you know what, this defines my life?
I'd have to say probably 15 years old. Yeah. I got into Queen, classic rock. But I turned 15 and I received albums on my birthday, The Priest. I received Rainbow, some old Sabbath. So I kind of noticed a lot of the music kind of identified with the way I felt, aggressive. You know what I mean? Always moving. A lot of the lyrics answered a lot of my questions. It made me feel more aggressive, more sure of myself. It made me feel like balanced, like other people understood where I came from, what I felt. So I knew that there was other people that would feel that. It gives you a bit of empowerment, belonging. But then again, So does pop music. So does alternative music. So does dance music. It gives everybody an identity to feel comfortable, be themselves, express themselves however they want to be without being judged, because everybody that is in that circle digs you. They understand you. So that's what kind of metal did for me early on, and then after that, it was over. I got into the Priest, I got into Maiden, I got into Saxon, I got into Venom, got into Slayer, and it just took off from that. Then Metallica came to birth. Then you had Metallica split up with Dave Mustaine. Then you had Megadeth come in. You had Testament come in. Being from LA, it was a trip to see glam rock take its toll or its path into rock and roll, which softened it up, kind of MTV look, which I think is what killed kind of glam.
Because of what happened later on with glam and the hair metal and all that, no matter how popular it was, no matter how much we liked the songs, because I do like a lot of the glam and metal and hair metal, but I also do realize that people got tired really quick of that, because it was, in a way, there was no substance to it. And so then later came, the generation that was all depressed and thought life was, sucking, and they came out with, Nirvana comes out, and then after that we know the history of it. But I have to agree with you. I really enjoyed bands, and I still do, bands like Iron Maiden, especially because, it was such a show to see them as well. And a lot of that, it was the first time they were coming across on stage, and they had, when Iron Maiden came out, everybody wanted to see Eddie, their mascot. So, these guys were icons. They still are, of British heavy metal. Judas Priest. These soaring vocals, twin guitar attack. The Priest influenced generations of metal bands, not just one, generations, because of their blend of aggression and great melody. And then you got bands like one of my favorite metal bands, which were the pioneers of thrash metal, I guess you can call it, Metallica. They brought the fast-paced riffing and the lyrics. Man, Metallica's lyrics, socially conscious lyrics, that set new standards for heavy metal as well. So you saw it evolving. We were the generation in the 80s. We were the generation that saw the evolution of rock from Elvis, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, then all of the bands in the 70s, and then boom, the explosion in the 80s. And I'm glad that happened for me. I really, really am glad that happened, because we grew up in such an incredible decade with so much diversity. And each genre, Chang, I think you know this, each genre brought so much to the table. We couldn't say that, you're listening to a rock station, it's all going to sound the same. No. Every band that you listen to, whether it was Cinderella, Rat, Metallica, The Priest, Iron Maiden, they were all different. And they all brought an artistry to the table. And that influenced so many people. And here's the cool thing, because it didn't only influence older people, it influenced the young ones. How many people do you remember in high school carried the name of their favorite metal band?
AC/DC, which grew a certain...
one of my favorites. Yeah, absolutely.
Notification during the 70s, and then in the 80s, sadly, they had to go through two different singers, which sadly is Bon Scott, which brought them notoriety, balls, guts, gave them a identity, and made them that band, which sadly some of us know that if you didn't know, he died of an alcohol overdose, choking on his vomit in his own in a vehicle after a night of partying. I thought that band kind of went through a major change, and you can call me a hater, but I respect Brian to a certain degree, But I think once Bonds got the diversity, the difference, the blues soul kind of real guts died of that band, and it kind of became the same sound, kind of the same feeling, and they kind of catered to what he could do. To with Bon Scott, give it to me and I'll take it here with you, and I'll take you to another level.
Well, I guess so, but you're
80s,
just looking at one side of it. Once again,
Oh,
you're looking at only one side of it.
Mackerel.
You're not looking at
I knew it.
AC/DC at what it became.
And this guy's called me a hater.
It became.
You know what?
It's
and my wife feels the same way.
I think you're only looking at it one way. You're not looking at it the way that thousands, hundreds of thousands of people look at it, which is AC/DC. No, of course, they weren't the same as they were with Bon Scott, but they became AC/DC in a different way. And no matter who's leading it, they are
crappy way.
They're not a crappy band. They're an incredible band with great hits.
Okay.
So,
I'm
and
sorry.
then there's other bands that you, of course, the hater, don't like. Bands like Def Leppard, and what can we do? But
I like the first two albums. After that, come on.
And the same goes with Kiss.
Once MTV took over, they were
what happened
done.
With
and really, really, really one-arm drummer. I mean, God bless, he did it.
There you go.
Hands
You're
off
hearing
to
this
him.
live, ladies and gentlemen. The hater in all his
Hands
glory.
off to him.
For metal, as
the same beat all the time.
we finish up this segment, we've got bands that came from metal that, of course, Chang liked in the beginning. He hated. He ended up not liking.
Wait a minute. Don't take this out of context. I thought we were on a real metal.
We are,
topic.
but you know what? Later, I got to mention some bands that you probably don't like as well. Bands like Twisted Sister.
Okay, then I'll mention
Twisted
some
Sister.
bands. No, I do like Twisted Sister.
Quiet Riot.
L.A. bass.
Then you
Randy Rhoads of Ozzy Osbourne started with.
Then you got
Quiet
bands like Motorhead.
Yes, great. The Lemmy.
What are you going to do?
Badass.
What are you going to do? Scorpions?
Drink some whiskey and he'll kick your ass.
You got Scorpions, but anyway.
I had shots with him.
Yes, you did.
At the Rainbow when I did stand-up.
What about Dawkins? You got bands like Dawkins. You got some...
Don Donkey. George Lynch, great guitar player. Don Donkey, please. Put the hat over your face.
That's right. You've heard it, ladies and gentlemen, here. But Blue Oyster Cult, etc.
Great band. Everybody had great mustaches. Next band.
All right. Let's take a little break here. Back to the 80s. I know, Chang, that you got some bands you want to bring up within your deep, bottomless pit of hate. I'm going to take you out with some
real metal. Okay. Do that again.
Chang, I know you
got me angry.
Chang, I know you got some great bands coming up in your deep, deep barrel from the abyss of hate that is within you. So go ahead. Tell us what we're going to be listening to. Probably bands that you don't like anymore, but go ahead.
Remember, only one way to get prosperity, and that's unity. Judas Priest with United right here at Back to the 80s Radio, where we give you the best of the 80s. Agree or disagree? It's all about family.
They have other songs as well.
When Cameron was in Egypt's land, let my Cameron go.
Nobody has the movie I want.
Hey, if it's on video, Blockbuster probably has it. I mean, we have over 10,000 videos.
Wow.
I'll watch these fast and have them back tomorrow, I promise. Relax. At Blockbuster, you can keep your videos for 3 evenings, so take home plenty. And use our 24-hour quick drop.
Do you have any children's videos?
Sure. Blockbuster's America's family video store. We have more kids' videos than any place else. Hey, more movies, more nights, more fun.
Blockbuster Video.
Wow, what a difference. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadow Stevens, and you must listen to Back to the 80s Radio. It's the law.
Now, Tusky, as we're talking about the genres of the 80s music, seeing that the 70s, 60s, 50s gave birth to most of the styles of whatever it was in the 80s and music as a whole, we cannot forget about those 70s in hard rock bands that kind of started metal, that kind of made their own imprint in the 80s. I'm talking about bands such as Aerosmith, Queen, Cheap Trick, the Stones. Stones made their footprint in the 80s. different sounds. So did David Bowie. So did Chicago. So
Here's a band that I know that you like, or at least you used to like more than you do now, even though you still like them. I'm talking about the beginnings of Journey.
Now, Journey, interesting band. Talent-wise, they're awesome. The band originally came from Santana with Greg Raleigh, guitar, keyboard, singing, and he brought Neil Sean, the guitar player, flashy rhythm player, to Carlos Santana during that Woodstock era. They had a great sound, hard rock, broke away from that kind of rhythmic Latino rock, but badass when they formed the band. Then they brought in a new singer, Steve Perry, incredible vocals, incredible. I mean, the dude's got range. You know what I mean? He could sing. He was a sexy little dude. I mean, you know what I mean? To me, he always looked like a little golfer, but he was a cool dude. I would have hung out with a guy. You know what I mean?
Okay, but you didn't like him. You didn't like how he sang.
No, I do think he's got talent. I do like the way he sings, but I'm not a big fan of catering to just one style of music. My problem with Chicago, you can have, everybody has emotions to love, but yet you got to mix it up. You can't just stay in one round. Mix it up, bring it out. That's what rock and roll is. But like I talked about we're talking about Journey, and they were pretty badass at first. Even with Steve Perry, they kicked ass. But my problem is MTV, and then they got Jonathan Cain once Greg Raleigh left to fill in, which Jonathan Cain looked like that white dude on MTV that didn't get a lot of airplay, but he had kind of like that conservative Rod Stewart haircut. You know which one I'm talking about. He wore a lot of blazers. So anyway, he didn't bring substance. So to me, they make videos. We're good. And then he comes out and he wants to play keyboard in the style of a guitar. And he's playing the techno keyboard like he's playing an actual guitar. I thought, you know what? You suck. If I ever saw you in an alley, I would break that freaking keyboard over your head. So I thought,
well, so much hate. I
thought they discredited themselves and
they became a bigger band. They became better, more pop, more hit.
Wait a minute. As you say, more pop, more hits doesn't make them a better band. It makes them a band that was able to intellect-wise move over, make the money, and stay in the mainstream. Doesn't mean they're better.
No. They weren't a better. Okay, so they weren't a better band.
Wait a minute. A better band.
They weren't a better band.
True to the essence.
They were just
and made
different.
Their presence known, but changed.
Not necessarily. What if they were sucky?
Carlos Santana. He jams with everybody. He's got more notoriety, but he puts his flavor in. He's a badass, but yet he knows how to work. How
many Carlos Santanas are there in the world? One.
Oh, you see? Now you're a hater of Santana?
There's a hater.
You see?
I love Santana. I just said, how many Santanas are there? There's only one.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, yeah, they started off a certain way. You may have liked it, but it doesn't necessarily, just because they switched and they made that turn and they became poppy, look, that doesn't mean that they became worse. It just means that they became different. It wasn't what you liked, but you know what? It filled their pockets with money. It made them popular with the world.
Right.
Their hits became, their songs are still heard today.
Right, but now...
And those songs, they transcended.
Okay. Now, I don't agree with...
The other songs didn't.
What you said is they got better. They transcended. They got poppy. That's the key word.
I didn't say they got better. I said they changed. They were different.
They got poppy. They conformed. They gave in.
They didn't they conformed when they went to MTV.
We can go back
because they had to. These guys were directed. They weren't their own bosses. What did you want them to do? Just say, you know what? Screw that. We don't want to make any money anymore.
Right. And
Let's just
isn't
stay
that
at
the
these little
reason
tiny
we're not
venues.
on FM radio? Because some cat wants to tell us how to do what we do and feel what we feel and play what we want to play and don't listen to the people that listen to us and tap in. It's the same kind of conformity,
No,
my
but
brother.
nobody's offering us millions of dollars. That's different.
Exactly. But yet I won't go on Hollywood Boulevard suck for $1 million just because I need the cash.
I won't either. I'm just saying, but if I get $1 million check, I'm really going to, and I know you will too, you will think about it.
No, if somebody gave me $1 million to suck, I'll take my ribs out.
I didn't say that. Oh, it has to go. Why does it have to get sexual with you?
Who said that? I hope you're going to bleep that out.
I have to. I got no choice.
No, you have a choice.
No, I don't have a choice.
Just like we have a choice to listen to what we want on the radio and what we think is pure rock and roll music.
Okay, so you're a purist. You're a purist. You're a purist. There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, there you go. That's Chang, the purist.
Oh,
nothing in the world means anything at all unless it is from the 1970s.
I really enjoy how you throw the King Charles at me every time you think I'm being a hater.
Anything with a new frontman, he does not belong with the band.
Do you think he enjoys this when he hears our show?
Off with his head.
Oh, I hate when he imitates me and makes me act superb even though I am.
Okay. So anyway, continue. It's typical. But go ahead.
I cannot believe that you think conformity betters music.
I never said that. You know what?
Well,
you reminded me of Trump right now. You reminded me of Trump. You went the way of Trump because you said something that I did not. You put words in my mouth.
T. Mine is with a C.
Okay. I'm going to call you Trump. Charump.
No.
Changarump.
No. You know what is incredible?
Trump Chang.
You evade the tennis ball hit at you with a curveball, and then you say it's out of bounds.
Please.
Just
you know
because
what?
you don't want to play it.
You know what? Take us out with music. People don't want to hear us go back and forth. Take us out with music.
You know what? I'm going to take you out with a couple of tunes right here, and we're going to take you out with a little bit of Aerosmith. When lightning strikes.
Before they became bad.
Yeah, Rolling Stones. Back to the 80s radio with your buddies, Toscano and Chang. We got more in store. Don't you go anywhere. Hit us on social media. You got something to say. Don't be afraid.
When the economy was good and the metal was heavy, man. Back to the 80s.
Welcome back to the 80s radio with Toscano and Chang. We give you the Neapolitan of music, baby. Oh, wait a minute, Toscano.
Oh, we got another call.
You have the red phone on.
Yeah, you answer it this time. I did last time, and you know how that went.
Hey, what's cracking? You are calling back to the 80s radio, Toscano and Chang. Chang here, hanging with you, answering the cell. To hell, who am I talking to?
Good evening, loyal subjects and esteemed listeners. I have a matter of great importance to address with you, Chang.
King yes. Charles, it is fantastic that you called this show.
It has come to my royal attention that you, the infamous Chang, has been harboring disdain and hate for all pop rock music. Yes, you heard me correctly. All pop rock music. Chang, step forward.
No, yes.
Step forward.
Now, your royalty.
Chang,
what should I call you? Can I call you Chuck? Can I call you King Chuck?
You shall call me your majesty. How can you, in good conscience, dismiss an entire genre just because you hate them? Bands like Queen, Journey, Bon Jovi, I love them all.
Oh, wait a minute. Your royal anus, please, for mentioning
it
Bon
is your royal
Jovi and the
highness, get that correctly, you buffoon.
Bon Jovi is not a great rock and roll band such as Queen or anyone you mentioned.
Oh, Chang, you wound me deeply. Perhaps you have forgotten the raw power of David Bowie's heroes.
Of course not. David Bowie is the king.
You have no respect for your royalness. You don't stop talking. You remind me of Mom's parrot. It's true.
What did you do with Mom's parrot after Mom passed?
Listen. Mom's parrot exists only traces of the poor bird. We cooked him. Yes, he was pretty good. Oh, you buffoon, I don't have to put up with you. Anyway, I'm going to sign a royal decree. We shall honor both the mighty rock anthems of the hair metal and the synthwave beats as well. And let this be a reminder to all music and fans in all forms. Music has the power to unite us. Long live music, and Chang, you are going to the Iron Maiden.
Well, it's that time of the show today to just say our goodbyes. Believe it or not, we are going to have to leave it to part 2 of the diversity of 80s genres. Through the diverse landscape of 80s music, I want us to take a moment and just reflect on the impact that these genres had on all of us. It was a time that artists dared to be different. They pushed boundaries. They created sounds that spoke to the hearts and minds of the people all around the world. And the diversity of music not only provided a soundtrack to our own lives, but also it brings people together. It crosses cultural and social divides. So let's celebrate it from here to next week and cherish the legacy of 80s music. This is Toscano wishing you an amazing week.
Chang here before we release you to another Chang-tastic weekend and week. Remember, keep a smile on that face. Stand up for yourself. Stand up for something bigger than you. Till next week, I bid you an adios. Arrivederci. Aho. Hasta la vista. Sayonara. And to all my homies across every barrio. Orale.